You are a firecracker.
Oh, I get wound up. I guess I do. So you've set a high expectation here for me, Athens. So we'll try and dive right in here.
Now, when we were talking, you were saying that last week's news is the $1.2 million settlement.
Yes.
This week's news is exporting our water and how it's going to affect us for the next 60 years.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
No, that's the way I feel about it. There's a lot of mistakes being made by the district right now. In the $1.2 million settlement, we should touch on that. I feel that the management and the board down there at MID led this investor group go along too far, spent too much money before they pulled out of the biomass plant for some fundamental reasons that if that was what drove their decision, they should have pulled out earlier before all that money was spent. And so unfortunately, the money was spent. The district kind of left them standing at the altar. And someone had to pay for all that. And so that was the settlement they came to, and it avoided what would have been a long litigation, and perhaps more loss for the district, perhaps less, but definitely lots of distraction, lots of legal bills. So I hope that puts that episode behind the district.
Who is going to pay for the $1.2 million? Is it going to be passed on to the
Every
ratepayers?
time the district spends $1 on anything, the ratepayer pays it. My signs around town say, Duarte for MID, protect our water, control costs. Because we can all talk about low rates. We'll talk about low taxes, talk about low rates. We all want to keep our money. Nonetheless, the district has to operate. It has to deliver electricity, it has to deliver agricultural water. And whatever money it spends to do that, the ratepayer is going to pay. And so we have to remember as ratepayers, every time the district has a cost, we pay it. Every time the district talks about cutting rates, or a candidate talks about cutting rates, they have to talk about cutting costs, or they're not sincere.
Are these board meetings open to the public where the public can go down and
Oh,
hold
yeah.
up signs that say lower my rates?
The public has plenty of opportunity to comment, and the board meetings are put on the MID.org, I think it is, website, but that's Irrigation District. Just search it on your search engine, and you can see the meeting dates. And come on down. There's a public comment period where anyone from the public could stand up, introduce themselves, give their name and their address, and let the district know what they believe is for the benefit of the district and the ratepayers.
You were talking about water, water usage. I live out there in the county, and I see fields being flooded, but also fields being sprinkled. And you were mentioning to me the other day that there's a difference between groundwater and surface water.
Yes.
What is the difference between the two? Because to me, water's water, but there is a difference.
There is a difference, and we're enormously blessed, and that's why I say that the $1.2 million settlement was an unfortunate episode for the district, but it was last week's news. The surface water sale in San Francisco, we shouldn't even. I spoke to one director, and he was very wise, and he said, "Don't even say 50 years. It's a permanent sale. This is a permanent loss of water to our community, to our valley, to our economy, to jobs here in this area. So let's not even pretend it's anything but a permanent sale of water." Now, we have surface water rights off the Don Pedro Reservoir, which is part of the Tuolumne River watershed. And our forefathers of the Modesto and Turlock irrigation districts had the vision to create the first public irrigation districts in the state. And they went up and they built dams and canals and brought the water down and dug these canals that we work off of now with horses and mules. This is how far back this irrigation system goes. It was dug with mules. And it's been a blessing for us. I mean, this irrigation system is what gave us the lead in agriculture in this area. Start listing off all the agricultural secretaries from Modesto, from Clara Berryhill, Henry Voss, Ann Veneman, Bill Lyons. It's really amazing. Even Chuck Ullum, who farms down the Turlock Irrigation District, Bill Ullum, I'm sorry, I get in trouble here, was a deputy secretary of ag. And then you look at the largest canneries and wineries in the world. That's because we had the first irrigated agriculture here in the state on the scale that we enjoy.
So what's going to happen when we sell all of our water to San Francisco?
Well, to be correct, they're not talking about selling all of it. They're talking about selling a lot of it.
How much is a lot?
Well, right now the Modesto Irrigation District serves about 173,000 acre-feet of ag water to ag water users in the district. They're looking at selling 50,000 acre-feet. Now, this doesn't mean 50,000 acre feet this year when there's been a lot of rains and we're not at the end of a long drought. This means 50,000 acre feet every year.
Well, what happens when we have a dry year?
When you have a dry year, you're okay. When you have 2 or 3 dry years, we're
Are
in
we
trouble.
going to have to buy the water back?
No, we don't have a source to buy it back from. We're on the east side of the valley here. There really is nobody to sell us ag water. They can get it to our farms. So once we sell it, we're stuck with our groundwater resources, whatever they are. Now, we talked a moment ago about different types of irrigation. Now, growers in the area that flood irrigate, open the valve and flood the field, they might do that every 2 or 3 weeks, which is the traditional way around here to irrigate. It is an efficient system. Even the activist community, the public policy think tank over there in San Francisco that commented on our water sale a few weeks ago, has backed off criticizing flood irrigation because they find when growers go to micros and drip irrigation systems, they actually use more water. They use more water and they produce more food with it, and they have a bigger economic impact, but they can kind of redline the orchard planting just all season long, giving it precisely the amount of water it needs, versus a flood system where you water it and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, you'll come back and water it again. Now, when you run a surface water flood system, you generally use the surface water out of the canal. More and more growers are going to micro and drip irrigation systems where they run the black hoses or the solid set sprinklers, and they micro irrigate or use irrigation technology. In those situations, most of the time they're pulling groundwater. So the growers in the district that are using micro or sprinklers most of the time use groundwater and don't hit the current irrigation system for on-demand water needs. The irrigation system isn't set up to take a lot of on-demand water needs. There's some improvements it needs to do that. We should do it so that more and more of our farming is based on surface water. We have a lot of demands on our groundwater right now. And that's one reason this water sale makes no sense, is because we're not even done with meeting our local demands on groundwater in this area. We have a lot of agriculture being developed to the east of us in town. You drive out Keys Road or Clarabelle Road or out towards Hawkins and out that way, you drive around and you see enormous expanses of orchards and vineyards being put in. These are highly profitable crops that really do a lot for our economy here in Stanislaus County. And they're all working off groundwater. So they're pulling water up 300 or 400 feet out of the ground, burning a lot of kilowatts to do it. I think we just paid for a couple hundred acres of grapefruit stock we farm out there. We just paid a $13,000 electricity bill today for last month. Just pulling groundwater out of the ground to irrigate crops. We could be using surface water for some of that in wet years.
If the farmers keep pulling all the groundwater out, is that going to deplete the groundwater level?
Over time, it's a demand on groundwater. Now, we're fortunate in that we live at the base of the Sierra Nevadas, so it's constantly recharging. But there are some areas along the valley now, including down there east of Turlock, where there's what they call a cone of depression in the aquifer, which the aquifer is the underground water table, where because of the eastern draw on the groundwater, because the city in Turlock doesn't currently have a surface water treatment project, so they're using groundwater to feed their municipal water needs and industrial water needs. So you've actually got a cone of depression down there, and their groundwater table is not being sustainably used. We can use groundwater, but we have to use it sustainably. And until we get more surface water put into our municipal systems and more of our surface water put into our agricultural uses, we're going to be less than sustainable on our groundwater demands. And over time, that's going to tax us. The wells are going to go deeper, and the wells are going to have more toxicity. They're going to have more salt problems, and they're going to have more arsenic problems.
And it's going to cost more money to pump it further up.
And you got to suck it up. You got to pull it up. So you can imagine, lift a gallon of milk, 300 feet. It takes energy. And so we need to be using our surface water resources here in Stanislaus County, whatever district you're in, but particularly in Modesto Irrigation District, to have more municipal treated water. We need to irrigate more of our farms in the district with that surface water. In wet years, we need to make that surface water available to our east side growers so that they can save electricity and they can help us conserve the aquifer. So when we go into a drought situation, we've got a great groundwater resource to go to.
Why does San Francisco want our water anyway?
Well, they want to develop. They want
to build another city over there?
They want to build, baby, build. They don't like to hear drill, baby, drill, but they want to build, baby, build. And last year, for instance, we paid a $29 million fine here in the Central Valley for air quality problems. Now, we generate some smog ourselves here. We live here, we drive here, we operate our businesses. We also know that 27% of our smog here in the Central Valley blows in from the Bay Area. They produce 6 times more smog per square mile than we do here in the valley. 27% of our air quality problem is attributable directly to the blown-in air quality from the Bay Area. We are going to pay every citizen, everybody watching here that registered a car this year is going to pay a $12 per vehicle tax to pay that $29 million fine. And now we're thinking about selling them 50,000 acre-feet of water. 50,000 acre-feet of water is enough water to farm 20,000 acres. It's also enough water to support a city the size of Turlock in the Bay Area. That is more congestion, more smog, more air quality impacts that are going to be paid for by us. Now, another aspect of this, I'm sorry, I'm rattling on here.
Go ahead.
You warned them.
Yeah. You have
warned
the
'em.
lit fuse. Go for it.
You lit my fuse. Okay. Here's the explosion. This is really the factor that drives me up a wall the fastest. Is 1 acre foot of water can produce anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 worth of farm gate value. That means, 1 acre of almonds might take 3 acre feet of water to farm it. It'll produce, 3,000, 4,000 pounds of nuts. It'll sell for $1.50, $2 a pound. You'll get about $6,000 off an acre of almonds. That's going to take 3 acre feet. So you have about $2,000 worth of farm gate revenue. The farmer sells his crop and gets about $2,000 worth of revenue off every acre foot of water used. When you take that farmer, he doesn't put all that money in his pocket. He's got to go buy trees from a nursery like ours, or he's got to buy diesel. He's got to pay his people. His wife's going to want to go down and go to town, go shopping. He's going to buy pickup. Everyone he spends
So it
money
goes
with, he's
back
going to
into the
spend money.
community.
So there's going to be a multiplier effect through the community. On farm gate value, the multiplier effect that is most often used by Farm Bureau is 4.5. So for every acre foot of water we give up to San Francisco permanently, it has up to a $9,000 economic impact on our local economy.
Where can we find you? You got a website.
DuarteForMID.com.
We got to go in just a few seconds.
Okay.
Say that again.
DuarteForMID.com or DuarteForMID on Facebook. And I'm happy to talk to groups. I'm happy to speak to anyone. Call me on my cell phone, 209-531-6874. I'm very, very interested in getting people informed about this water sale. The district will be having public hearings on this water sale the 25th, 6th, 7th, and 8th of this month. We don't know how fast this is going to move. There hasn't been a lot of transparency in what's going on here. We need the public to turn out. We want them organized, half pitchforks, half torches.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.